Huge news about the Trump shooting. It turns out that the hero of the day was a local law enforcement officer who took a shot that quieted crooks down. The Secret Service looking worse by the minute. Hello, everyone. Dr. Chris Martenson, really explosive update for you. At least for me, mystery is solved. A local ESU agent, that's Emergency Services Unit agent, took the shot to stop the shooting. And is the Secret Service actually corrupted beyond repair? Look, we know from our audio analysis here that we've been counting these 9 shots, right? And so I've always said, what's going on with number 9? Down there, I've highlighted it in yellow because you see there's that string of 5 fast shots, 1, 2, 3 slow, right? There at 0.85, 0.69, and they're spaced nice and even. Then there's a 2.79 gap, and then it's just bum, 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 5 shots, and then crack, there's that next one. That's the 9th shot. It just comes 0.77 seconds. After that 5th shot, we have an answer for that now, and this is really important because this is and has been one of the most important questions we could answer is who took shot 9 and from where, because it hasn't been part of the official narrative. Now it is, and we can wrap it in. The Washington Post now is just reported that it turns out that the Trump rally gunman was stopped firing after a local officer shot at him. So now we can see that picture there is taken from the side of Crooks sitting up and looking over. That's when people over on the west side were like, oh, look out, he's coming towards us. But we know because of the Dave Stewart film from taken in front of the south side that you can also see Crooks' head way above the transom, right? He is over the skyline. And so it is completely conceivable that what is being reported here is that that shot was being taken from right here off to the side and behind the stands. This is incredible. If this shot was taken here from 110 yards, that's a great shot. And if it hit him, it's an even better shot, but it stopped the firing because Crooks was on a roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Oh, that calmed him down. And then probably the kill shot was the Secret Service finally got their act in order 10 seconds after that 9th shot. Pew, inbound came, and we hear that his hair flew up. So I think we have a good chronology. I think we know what happened now. Carrying on here, quote, one of the people who spoke to the Post, a local law enforcement officer close to the investigation, did so on the condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak publicly. The other, Richard Goldinger, who we've reported on here before, is the district attorney for Butler County, confirmed that a member of the county's emergency services unit, similar to a SWAT team, fired a shot at Crooks that prompted a reaction from the gunman. So I haven't been through all of my data yet to find out if this tracks, if this fits, but it does with this. Remember here, we're looking at this 9th shot right here. There's this weird double tap. I couldn't figure out what this was. We talked about this mystery. Here's shots 1, 2, 3 on a spectrogram. Here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have this little thing, this little double tappy thing here. So what was that? Now I can reasonably guess that it's the sound of the explosion coming from behind the filmer, in this case, David Stewart, coming across, hitting the building right in front of him and coming straight back to him. That is a perfect echo surface. So boom, bang. I'll map all that out and give you the data on it at some future point if it seems worthwhile, but that tracks pretty well at this point in time. So now at least mystery is solved. And it turns out then that the Secret Service saying, oh, we engaged the shooter as soon as we recognized him and we neutralized him and we're the heroes. No, you're not. Wasn't you at all. Thank you for doing the kill shot, the coup de grace, but this is the hero of the day, whoever took that shot. Good thinking, and under that stressful situation to figure out all of a sudden you got to start shooting because remember, there wasn't all that much time in between these things. Shot 9 was taken 5.89 seconds into the whole adventure from shot 1. Oh my gosh, something's happening. Orient, there's shooting going on. Find where you think the shooter is. See the shooter. Safety off. Maybe you have to chamber around. I don't know what condition they take their weapons in. And then you take the shot. That in 5.89 seconds. Somebody buy this gentleman or gentlewoman a beer or lots of beers. Well done. That is some good going right there. Now, it fits with earlier reporting we had where we know that a local police sniper, they said here, fired a shot at Crooks. They didn't have any snipers down on field here, or maybe there was one going off walking somewhere else. This is where they had their quick reaction forces, the QRFs, and they had basically These are all people with sort of close quarter combat weapons, at least as far as I could tell. They got, EOTechs, which are a swarm of a holographic red dot sort of a technology. I didn't see a lot of, I don't know. I don't know what they were carrying. I'm not sure if it was a sniper or not. This confused me, threw me off the scent for a while, because if this is true and it was a sniper, this has got to be false, because that's not where the snipers were hanging out. And then we have other questions. So I hope this is true, because it's a good story. It settles in, and it has the least amount of darkness associated with it. Now, Senator Chuck Grassley released this whole 46-page long thing, which I'm going to go over in detail tomorrow. If you're watching this here on Wednesday, on Thursday at 3 o'clock, I'm doing a live cast with Gary of Paramount Tactical. It's going to be great. I want to go over this with him in detail, so I'll just go over a touch of it. From Chuck Grassley, this is the level of detail, some of the detail they went through in their pre-action planning. Now, they had a 46-page document, and they covered everything. It looks like a pretty good document to me. But what do I know? That's why we're going to go over it with Gary. But down on page 30, they had their use of force doctrine. And I think this is important and relevant, because the Secret Service at one point was floating this crazy idea that they can't really shoot first. They have to wait. They can return fire. Like, it's a stupid rule of engagement. Of course, that's not the case. Even here at a local law enforcement level, where I think you would arguably say the stakes are just as high in terms of life, but not is high in terms of like national security, protecting the president, international, global security. They said here that they're just reiterating their use of force. I'm sure this is copy paste. They probably put it in every document, but there it is. It is the policy of Butler County ESU that police officers shall use only that force that is objectively reasonable under all circumstances. Use of force as designated herein shall be reported in a timely, complete, and accurate manner. Okay? So, hey, they say use of force is totally appropriate. And by the way, lethal force can be used in self-defense and to protect another person or another officer or citizen. And the following shall be considered in determining the reasonableness. Were you a reasonable person? Did the suspect pose an immediate threat to the officer or others? Obviously, whoever was firing from the roof, we're going to call that crooks. Looks like it at this point in time. Great. That was a good decision, all made in 5.89 seconds. If you haven't been in that kind of a situation, and I haven't, I've just been on the range where they give you a surprise starting beep. That's enough to like fluster a lot of people. I mean, you have to factor all this in when you're making that decision, like, because you get a lot of trouble. You pop off around and wasn't appropriate, particularly at a Trump rally. That would be a place where you could do a lot of career damage as well as maybe some other damage. So good 5.89 seconds start to pop is, I think, a very reasonable amount of time for somebody to make a decision, acquire a target, and decide to use lethal force. So that was well done. Now, we saw as well in page 2 that from this briefing document that this is how they had planned the whole thing. And here's where we're going to have to turn our attention now, because we're still looking at those 4 possibilities. Crook acting alone, Crook acting with some other outside help. What was that white van about? Did that belong to somebody else? Who did help make the explosives? We have questions. Was he actually all alone? And then 3 is a lie hop. They let it happen on purpose. We still have open questions about that, honestly, that this raises, this map we're about to go over, and then made it happen on purpose is like, they didn't just like leave sloppy coverage. They actively helped fill that sloppy coverage with a bad actor or 2. So this is the map that they had in the Butler County briefing document. And I think what's just stands out noticeably right here is all their areas of operation right here. And they've linked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of snipers. They said there was going to be a sniper down here. They said there was going to be another one down here. So 2 sets of snipers way, way far away. That's like 1,050 feet from here to here. Then we have the 2 Hercules Secret Service teams we know about. We've been tracking those. We're all familiar with that. And then there's supposed to be 2 more guns up here. And that would be both Butler and Beaver County, both supposed to be in that room, which is weird because in an earlier page of this document, they showed them being right where you want them to be on this roof. But even if they weren't, they should have been here. We got more questions about that. This investigation's not over on that front, but I have questions. And here are my questions. This is from how they understood the briefing documents from the Secret Service, which is, well, we have 7 zones of concern here, right? Zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can see here all the little names of these things. So, you know what's not on here? This is the AGR buildings up here. This is where Crooks was, right where my red dot is, right up top there. That wasn't even a zone of concern. It is literally a 9-iron shot from the stage. How is it not? Everything is pushed to the south. So all sorts of resources are clustered way down here and practically nothing up here, right? Obviously not the case. We saw yesterday from the Stewart video that there was actually police all over the place up there, but not Secret Service. So this is where everything was concentrated. Down here on the entrance where they come in, the fairgrounds itself, that's fair. Trump stage, obviously fair, but nothing, like there's no zones of concern up this way to the north. I mean, it is just glaringly obvious. And so we'll talk about that with Gary tomorrow. I hope you'll fill that in. So the AGR buildings aren't even listed anywhere in their documents as a possible priority, despite being in direct line of sight. So now we're going to turn to Josh Hawley. Ronald Rowe is the new acting director here of the Secret Service. And give me 1 second here because we'll pull this up because Josh Hawley had some really good questions. I just want to step through this together.
Put your first poster, your first demonstrative back up.
Please put A up, please.
Let's make sure everybody can see it. This is the photograph, I believe, that you took, your team took of the roof, the AGR roof. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. So from this vantage point, as the law enforcement who are in those windows, as they look left, they should be able to see the shooter clearly there on the AGR second floor roof. My question is, why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper on that roof?
So, Senator,
there it is. The question everybody wants to know. Let's hear the answer because this is important.
when we post up, our methodology is to look at things that can see in on our protectees. So that they can provide that coverage.
But why is there not a Secret Service counter sniper there with clear line of sight? That roof has a clear line of sight to the former president. Why didn't you put a Secret Service counter sniper there?
The Secret Service's counter sniper role is to neutralize those threats that are looking in on us from where the protectee is, not necessarily.
Okay, we're going to have to cover this with professional snipers because I've been talking with them for a couple weeks now, and this is not true. You put your snipers out really far, 250, 400 yards. You put them out there because they can reach out and touch people from a long, long way. You don't want them in looking out. That's where you get surprised. So there's layers of this defense. Your snipers are typically your outermost layer of defense because they're looking really far, right? They're trying to see something coming in from a distance. Is somebody coming in way over here? They have full vantage point, seeing all the rooftops or any windows suddenly open that shouldn't have been, that kind of stuff. And then you have another layer of people in, and as we saw yesterday, there's undercover police officers all within the crowd, and then you have your local ring of protection. These snipers, they placed them right on top, both sets. By the way, in a place where one was occluded from from Crooks's firing position by a tree, in both sets were actually occluded from part of that roof, okay? You would never place your sniper teams in a place, unless you're a moron, or you're letting it happen because you're purposely trying to put defective coverage up there. You would never, ever, ever place both your teams in a way where they couldn't even see the entirety of the thing we're trying to protect, people looking in on us, as this guy is trying to say here.
Necessarily,
you think maybe you might want to revise that protocol in light of what happened here?
They were protecting the principal, and I think
the principal got shot.
Understand that, sir.
So do you think you might want to revise the protocol? Let me ask you this. Who is the lead site agent who made the decision to leave the AGR building completely outside of the security perimeter? Who was that?
Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational.
Asking the right question. Senator, I cannot give you that name. This person is operational. Ronald Rowe.
They're still doing investigations. They're still doing protective visits.
Have they been relieved
This
of duty?
Disgusting.
Senator, they have not been relieved of duty.
By the way. Why have they not been relieved of duty?
They are still cooperating, not only being interviewed by the FBI, but also by our Office of Professional Responsibility. And we will let the facts of the mission assurance and any further investigations play out.
Is it
facts of the mission assurance? Is it like mandatory that when you go to DC, you get some sort of lobotomy and you get like really weird code phrases stuck in your brain that are supposed to mean something? We're going to let the facts of the mission assurance. I don't even know what that sentence actually means. What are the facts of the mission assurance? Can't quite string that together. Sounds like gobbledygook. Let's keep going.
Isn't the fact that a former president was shot, that a good American is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded, isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the
Ronald would like you to know that he's questioning what the meaning of the word is in this context, pursuant to the facts of the mission.
investigation play out to include.
So who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I don't want to blame a person. I want to blame a process. We're all kind of accountable. No one person. This guy is exemplifying everything that is absolutely 100% wrong with my country right now. There's no accountability. Doesn't even feel like the need for accountability. This is where you kind of want to, you admire the Japanese, because this is the moment he should just up and commit seppuku, right there on national television or something like that. Like some form of accountability is what we all need, what we deserve. And this guy's trying to weasel out and say, oh, well, it was maybe sort of a process that failed. I'm thinking it's a process that failed. Maybe we have to look at the totality of the mission facts of the process. Come on, dude. This isn't that hard. You have an SOP manual that probably got written in 1848 about how you run a multi-layered perimeter defense. And then we had to update it a little bit because now we got drones and now we got snipers who can reach out and touch people a little further. So you update it a little, but it's not like you're oh, well, we're going to have to examine what might have gone wrong. What went wrong is somebody put the assets in the wrong place, allowing this to happen. That's easy.
Make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, fire them all. Go, Josh.
I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here.
Yes.
So you're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty? What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
Has the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was?
What more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
I cannot put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed?
Yes.
The former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
then
just like you have.
Somebody to
and I will
hold
tell
them
you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted?
Unfairly,
We've got people who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols. I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
And on it goes. Oh, this is just, wow, this is something. So the lack of accountability is now so endemic, so embedded in the Washington, D.C. culture that it's unthinkable to some director that he would actually have to man up, act like a person who's in charge of something, and actually hold the people under them accountable. Like, it's not that hard. It happens all the time in the world of private business. Oh, hey, you suck. Bye. Go. Right? It's part of life. People don't always work out for jobs. Whoever, at a minimum, prima facie evidence, whoever set that site up is completely 100% incompetent at best. At worst, they had darker, different motives. And that, I agree, we should probably have an investigation, unravel all of that. But at a minimum, I think you start by just getting this person out of any place where they can either do more damage, throw off the investigation, or do something like that. Speaking of which, now, Ronald Rowe here, the every time you are speaking, you are shredding the integrity of your organization, because you're basically saying, you know what, we're going to thin blue line this, and we're just going to protect our own. We don't care how bad they effed up. Doesn't matter to us. We're, you know what's the most important thing here is that we make sure that none of us actually get in trouble or held accountable for bad decisions we might make. Because that would be too much. You can't ask us to operate like that. That'd be terrible. So at any rate, that's troubling. So let's go back to this now, and because man, that's really spooling me up. So let's come on back to the presentation really quick. And so where do I go from here? Oh yeah, how about this? So this was interesting. So in the National Review, this was back back a week back, 2 weeks back, and said Secret Service was understaffed at Trump rally due to NATO summit, whistleblowers say. And so, quote, whistleblowers have disclosed to the committee that the United States Secret Service, USSS, had led 2 briefings regarding the July 13th campaign rally on July 8th, 2024, with the Western Pennsylvania Fusion Center and other stakeholders to discuss the upcoming unrelated visits by President Trump and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. The letter reads, oh, USSS Special Agent in Charge Tim Burke reportedly told law enforcement partners that they had limited resources that week because the agency was covering NATO. That wasn't too hard to find. I found the name. I can find it. By the way, I couldn't use Google. I tried using Google, and you type in, you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing. And by the way, what I typed in was that part in yellow, USS Special Agent in Charge Tim Burke. I typed that exact thing in, and Google couldn't find it. You know why? Because Google is already burying this result. So that tells me that this is actually important to unraveling what happened. This is very reliable now. Pro tip, when Google seeks to hide something, it means that it's not in service to the powers that be, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, to have that information easy to find. So this means that for whatever reason, Google is going out of its way to make sure that Tim Burke's name stays out of the conversation. And I don't know why. So let's just make it real easy. There he is, right there. Yeah, and I've been on this for a while. Thank you, Asker at my site. So got that figured out. Now, by the way, it turns out there are lots of Secret Service agents now who are very unhappy. Who can blame them? This was just on Jesse Water just yesterday on Fox News.
A Secret Service counter sniper is predicting another assassination attempt before November. In an email obtained by Real Clear Politics, a Secret Service agent with 20 years experience on the counter sniper team is announcing he's going to blow the whistle until all of his supervisors are fired. The counter sniper says his mission is to prevent another JFK-style assassination. And the only reason that hasn't happened is because they've gotten lucky. He says Secret Service leadership is corrupt and states clearly, quote, we all should expect another assassination attempt to happen before November. We've exposed our inability to protect our leaders due to our leadership. After this email went public, it was wiped off the Secret Service servers. There's a massive cover-up underway, and it spilled over into Congress. After Cheadle resigned in disgrace, her number 2 got promoted and testified today that the Secret Service screwed up, but the local police, it was really all their fault.
30 seconds, if it's communicated directly to a counter sniper team, would that be enough time to react prior to the firing of those shots?
Senator, if we'd had that information, they would have been able to address it more quickly. It appears that that information was stuck or siloed in that state and local channel.
Were explicit instructions provided to cover the roof of the AGR building and locals just not follow it, or were those explicit instructions not provided?
It's my understanding what was communicated is that the locals had a plan and that they had been there before. We are looking at this, and they should have been on that roof, and the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
The Secret Service set the perimeter, established communications, didn't fly a drone, didn't put a counter sniper on the roof, and never even showed up to brief the locals.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad. And by the way, at the time that he's talking about this, all this stuff, it turns out that Mr. Rowe would have known that this was true. That, in fact, the person who was most responsible for stopping this was one of the locals who, all on their own, said, oh, my God, there's a guy shooting. I'm going to take a shot. If that's true reporting, then that's pretty intense. And so now we have a situation where the Secret Service is clearly out of control. The whatever's going on with the leadership there, very, very bad. Okay, so on page 6 of the after action report, the after report timeline, we're going to have to talk about this at some other time, but we see that blank, somebody with a short name, maybe with 4 letters, goes downstairs of building 1 to meet patrol, let them know suspects around. 8:06, they go down. 8:12, the shots are fired. So this is actually a pretty big deal, and this is the room that they were in. We now have pictures from Senator Grassley, which shows that they had all these little maps pretty crudely taped up there, and that, again, they were still fully focused to the south, that where the room they were in didn't even show up on the maps they were given. And most troublingly, if it turns out that they had left that room unguarded between 8:06 and 8:12, if they left it unguarded, unfortunately, with all the windows open. I believe this is a spotting scope. I know it's got a handle on it and optics, but that doesn't look like a long enough barrel. I don't know what that is. I'll have to ask somebody else. Maybe that's some kind of really cool suppressed short-barreled rifle for close-in sniping. I don't know. Can't tell what that thing is. But they must have left it in the room, because they left this window open, and this window open, and this window open, and this window open. Of course, and all of those windows would have been very, very easy spots. Well, not this one, but all of these 3 would have been chip shots to see crooks, take them out with a handgun or a brick, if you happen to have one handy, or just throw your spotting scope at them. All of those would have been effective at that range, because it was right there. How did they manage to just leave the room for those critical 6 minutes? Really just bad luck? Well, we'll find out. So this means that it was an ESU agent that is the field, out in the field, was the hero of the day, not the Secret Service, of course. It means the Secret Service has a massive problem that can only be solved by firing lots and lots of people. And I think we just heard from at least one of them today. Next, we still need to know how and why Secret Service left such a huge gaping Pac-Man coverage hole in that overall map. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Obviously, it's not a process that broke down. It's not a protocol that needs tightening. That is such a breach, it looks intentional. And they're going to have to work very hard to convince me and many other Americans that it was not intentional, because it's just that blatant. It's just that blatant. And finally, somebody left, whoever was in that 2-story building and left, they effed up pretty big time. We're going to need to know more about this, because they left a post undefended with open windows. They left without permission, I'm going to assume, or we need to find out who gave them permission. Oh yeah, we're looking for a guy, potentially on a roof with a rifle. Come on down, leave your position. Like, that was just obviously not a good decision, whoever made that, and also managed to leave at exactly the wrong time. So we're going to want to see every communication that happened between and among all those people, all their texts, cell records, all of that. So for all of you congressional and Senate investigators, please make sure you get the evidence for that, because a lot of questions can be answered. We got many, many more questions that have to be asked. All right, with that, thanks very much for listening. We'll be back with you next time. I thought this was really important to get out, so there. We have one more thing we can potentially move into the green column. This investigation is beginning to tighten up. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.